Hello and welcome to In Defense of a Movie Podcast. My name's Dan, and joining me as always is Aaron.
Ruby Roo! Rutro Reggie.
As you've probably guessed, today is a very special episode.
Yes.
From the director of Home Alone 3 and Beverly Hills Chihuahua comes 2002's Scooby Doo.
And from the the story, I guess, is written by James Gunn, which I had no idea about that. I thought that was pretty cool.
The leader, the head honcho of the DC rebooted studios, wrote this movie or co-wrote this movie.
It's pretty wild. What a long way he has come, hey?
I think so. Scooby Doo, this is the second 2002 movie that we've done. I think this came out the same year as Reign of Fire.
Yeah, that's actually how I came across this movie. I was just looking up what kind of movies came out this year, and I saw this. And at first I was very shocked because, it didn't even register to me that this was a poorly rated movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it sits on Rotten Tomatoes at 32% with an audience score of 40%. So it's definitely in the lower echelon of things.
Yeah, and again, I feel that it's rated way lower than it should be, but I have my own personal bias for the Scooby Doo franchise here.
Well, that's a huge part of the story behind this film. And I mean, this film, it wasn't a box office flop at all. I mean, it made $275.7 million worldwide and spawned a sequel. And so it's not like people didn't like it. It's definitely a huge part of our generation growing up. So let's get into it. Let's talk Scooby Doo.
Yeah.
Scooby-Doo, where are you? We got some work to do.
Aaron, how would you characterize your fandom or appreciation levels towards Scooby Doo and the Mystery Gang?
Oh, huge. This whole franchise has had a huge influence on me. When I was 18 years old, freshly graduated from high school, I worked all summer and saved all my pennies, and I went out and I bought myself a Great Dane. And that was because of Scooby-Doo. I just love this franchise so much, and I loved Scooby-Doo. Great Danes, to this day, are still my favorite breed of dogs. I will never get a Great Dane ever again, only because they have the shortest lifespans ever. Like, it was only about 7 years, which is just too short.
That's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it was definitely like you have this animal for 7 years and then, But love it. I have so many fond memories of watching Scooby-Doo with one of my little cousins. Her and I grew up together watching cartoons, and this is one of them.
I'm so scared. I wish I had a ham sandwich to calm my nerves. Well, what do you know? A ham sandwich. Wouldn't you know it needs some mustard? This has got to be my
long time ago, because I am my parents are from India, and we went on a family trip to India. And when you're in India, there's not a whole ton of things to do unless you have an active guide or translator or whatever. And so I just remember being, I don't know, maybe 10 or 11 years old, and my auntie, she got cable, and they got the Hanna-Barbera channel, and for a good portion of that trip to India, I just sat there watching Scooby-Doo, and I was in full bliss. So you can kind of see where a little bit of my bias for this franchise comes from.
It is brilliant American literature. And I don't care what anybody... It is. It should be taught in schools. These characters are cowards. They're scared. You don't want them on your team ever because you would definitely be killed and lose. However, for some reason, we pull for them the whole time.
What about you?
Totally. I definitely have a lot of nostalgia for this show, but particularly the first run of episodes from the 60s era.
Yeah.
I talked about this a bit on Reddit a while back, but we only had 2 channels on our TV when I was growing up, when I was a little kid. It was channels 2 and 12, that kind of scenario.
Yeah.
And my grandpa, he was kind of a hoarder, and he would record everything on TV. It was kind of this weird thing he did. He had stacks upon stacks of VHS tapes. He would just plug them in, record hours worth of TV, non-discriminately, just whatever was on. And oftentimes he would send them up to us because he kind of felt bad that we didn't have cable. And a lot of these recordings were old Star Trek episodes, Hanna-Barbera cartoons, DuckTales, and like all these classic shows. And so my experience with them was, you know, popping in the VHS, adjusting the tracking, and enjoying them. And then later, when we finally got a satellite dish in our backyard, one of those like 10-foot diameter things, we got Cartoon Network and as part of our satellite package. And at that point in time, Scooby-Doo reruns from the 60s were showing, as well as like, you know, the Flintstones. Those were showing on Cartoon Network regularly. And so it became kind of a daily thing where after school, I would just, you know, I'd turn on Cartoon Network and it'd be on for about 3 or 4 hours. But you know, it's funny because that was kind of where it ended for me. I have not watched or invested time in any of the other permutations or series of Scooby-Doo. I think there's like 14 or something different productions, TV productions at this point.
I have lost track of it. It is so crazy. I think the last Scooby-Doo, it was an animated movie, and I saw it on Netflix, and it piqued my interest because it was like Scooby-Doo and Shaggy go to WrestleMania or something like that. And I was like, hell yeah, I'm going to watch that. Never made it through like the first 20 minutes of the movie, but there are, so many iterations of this.
Yeah, for me, it's kind of tidally locked in like 1969, early 70s. But you can't overstate how much of a cultural phenomenon this show has become. It's insane.
Oh, yeah.
This franchise has made $5.43 billion, according to Wikipedia. And to put that in perspective, that's more money than The Simpsons has made, than Mission Impossible has made, than G.I. Joe has made, and even Minecraft. It's almost as culturally shocking to me as Winnie the Pooh. Just to like,
you know, that is a good point.
The surreal amount of money and cultural significance this show has.
Yeah, I was reading that Hanna-Barbera, like just the cartoons that were on it. So you know, your Tom and Jerry, your Yogi Bear. Oh, I'm missing a bunch right now.
There's so
What's
many.
that like sad little dog?
Droopy.
that guy, like so many of those shows, and you know, back in the day, it was probably the only thing that rivaled Disney.
Oh yeah, it was such a renaissance,
which was pretty nuts to me.
Yeah, I have always felt very nostalgic for Scooby-Doo, but there's this huge gap where I just kind of disconnected from it, and I'm kind of surprised by how enduring this franchise has been because I haven't been really interested in it since I was a kid. And I don't really know anybody who is per se. So I often find myself in this weird gray area of like wondering who Scooby-Doo is for anymore because it just felt like such a product of the time. And I don't necessarily think it is translated very well to modern audiences.
Yeah.
And it almost seems like a relic that keeps getting wheeled out, you know, and resuscitated and then put back away again. So I'm a little on the fence about Scooby-Doo as a franchise, but when I hear that theme song and hear, especially like the voice actors, that old like 60s way of talking, man, does that bring back childhood? Just like floods back. So
That's a clue.
Don't eat that clue, Shaggy.
Huh? Clue? Yeah, brew.
See those claw marks? The ape man was eating this sandwich. That's odd. Apes don't eat meat.
Maybe this ape man is more than an ape. It's okay, Shaggy. You can eat it. What? Me eat after an ape? I can't do it.
Aaron, I actually I have a theory about Scooby-Doo. And before we get into this movie, I wanted to ask you about this. I went down a Scooby-Doo rabbit hole in like preparation for this podcast, and I couldn't help but think about like the timing of when this show came out and the culture of the times. And society was changing drastically at this time.
Yes.
The hippie movement was about to kick off. All this weird stuff was happening.
Yeah.
Mainstream usage of drugs had become kind of a thing at this point. So I had this really dumb theory. It was such a stoner thought, but I want to share it with you anyway. I have a theory that Scooby-Doo, the series was part of a social engineering program to debunk paranormal and supernatural events.
Like in their solving mysteries.
Yeah, how no matter what the paranormal thing is, it's always just somebody in a mask or some logical explanation to it. The world was very Velma at that time, and there's a logical explanation for everything you're experiencing.
I mean, I don't think you're wrong. I think that so many things these days without us even knowing are made to manipulate us and make us think a certain way. So there's probably a little bit of truth to what you're saying.
The original run of the show, it rode such a thin line where it would be spooky for kids, but also teach them that things aren't as they seem, and maybe the monster's really just some disgruntled old guy. And it kind of enforced the stranger danger narrative. It kind of helped kids to process, like, make things not so scary anymore and not be so afraid of the unknown. Like, there was a really interesting cultural thing that happened, because some of those old episodes, like, they were a little edgy, a little creepy in some of the imagery and stuff, but they always somehow stuck the landing. And the show was huge.
Yeah, no, totally.
I can't even get a bite in edgewise. Well, the seawater's boiling. I wonder what ghosts like in their stew, Scoob.
Brains?
Chains! Hey, yeah, ghosts like chains. And, some ashes from the stove. This could be real good.
How do you feel about, like, modern Scooby Doo?
That is so in doing research for this movie, I was just reading, and I'm not too sure if you're like, I know you said you didn't, you're not too familiar with the new stuff. So So there was a cartoon that was just released starring Mindy Kaling as the voice of Velma, and it was its own Velma spin-off show, which in the show, I believe Velma was gay in it. And I was also reading that James Gunn there was an original script for this movie, and Velma was gay in that one as well.
Yeah.
I just found it really interesting because in this movie, Scooby-Doo, and they're talking about making Velma gay, and then studios had a bunch of pushback, right? And they were like, no, like, I don't think it's going to land. We don't want to alienate our audience, things like that. And then now they make an entire show that's dedicated to Velma and the fact that she's gay. And I just thought that was really interesting in terms of, like, where we were as a society and where we are now.
Yeah.
Which is just very interesting. For me, I think it's just stop trying to cater to people and just do whatever makes the most, like, creative sense.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel about it.
Where have all the heroes gone? When the world needs a champion against the forces of darkness, who will answer the call?
I'll have whatever he's having.
There was a few live-action movies that came out, and they were with Disney Channel stars. I think a few Disney Channel stars and a few, like, lesser-known people. They did not hit very well. I do remember watching them and kind of turning them off after, because it's exactly what you said, Dan, where it's just like, what kind of audience are you trying to appeal to, right? Like, is it kids? Is it teens? Is it, like, the adults that grew up watching Scooby-Doo? So, in my opinion, I think that Scooby-Doo 2002 and then the Scooby-Doo 2, the one that came out after that, these movies are like a dying breed, right?
Oh, totally.
They're made for the people who grew up watching Scooby-Doo and were a little bit older. I don't necessarily think that the movie is really geared towards kids at all. And I think it's more so, geared towards, like, millennials who grew up watching it.
Yeah, totally. I think Scooby-Doo as a whole, the entire franchise seems to be so hit or miss, and they're always trying new things with it and revitalizing it. And I don't necessarily understand it. I don't necessarily know if it should still be a thing. It might be the kind of franchise where they should probably put it on ice for 5 or 10 years and then make a resurgence, But after diving into all this different information and seeing all these different series kind of compared and contrasted, I really feel like this movie and Monsters Unleashed were peak Scooby-Doo. I don't necessarily think it got better after that.
Yes.
Like, these movies, man, are such a product of their time. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I think I've used this term before where it's like, this is a time capsule of a movie.
From Warner Brothers Pictures,
Mystery Inc. reunites.
Scooby and his crew are back on the case.
Run! I'm trying, buddy.
And now, on an island of mystery,
Welcome to Spooky Island.
they have
Monster! The monster?
no clue.
We lived through it, but if you didn't
Oh,
live
yeah.
through the early 2000s, like if you weren't a teenager in the early 2000s, this movie is like the experience. You know what I mean? This and like Without a Paddle.
No, I
Yeah.
thought the exact same thing.
I kept thinking of that because Matthew Laird voices Shaggy, and then Seth Green's in the second one. So I kept thinking of Without a Paddle.
Yeah. No, in researching this, there was a like Matthew Lillard and Freddie Prinze Jr. They were in a few rom-coms together. So I thought that was pretty interesting that there was already a little bit of chemistry built up between a few of the actors, and not to mention that Sarah Michelle Gellar and Freddie Prinze Jr. were in a relationship. I believe they got married in 2002 as well. So
yeah, that's before we even get into it. I mean, that's one of the biggest things I want to defend about this film is I think the casting in this film is so legendarily good.
Yes.
Like it is just so perfect.
yes, I would agree. As I was watching this, I was like, they whoever was in charge of casting did a bang up job of everything.
Yeah.
Like Matthew Lillard as Shaggy, Freddie Prinze Jr. as Freddie?
Fred.
Fred? Oh, I didn't even even realize it was Freddie and Fred. Ha! Interesting. Sarah Michelle Gellar as Daphne, Linda Cardellini as Velma. Just terrific casting. Even Rowan Atkinson as Mondavarius.
What a sweet name.
Was like on point.
Yeah.
Welcome to Spooky Island, the frightfully popular spring break spot for college students. Catch our electrical torture parade. It's a dead world after all. And the world-famous Splatterhorn. Oh! Scooby Doo! And the rest of Mystery Inc. Oh, it's marvelous to see you out my top. Oh, I'm so sorry. It's the second time this week. Oh, thank goodness. Sorry, it's a new toy. I'm just sort of getting up to speed with it.
Sorry, this is a total side thought, but did you come across actors that were originally going to be in this Scooby-Doo movie? There was a bunch of them. I don't know who, like, at what point and how serious it was, but at one point, Jim Carrey for Shaggy, Mike Myers for Shaggy, Leonardo DiCaprio for Fred.
Yeah.
And it was all these wild big name celebrities that were potentially gonna star in this, and I just can't picture. Like, I could see a Jim Carrey Shaggy, but I don't think I could see a Mike Myers Shaggy.
No, I can't either.
Maybe a Mike Myers Scooby Doo.
Yeah, but just the fact that so many major A-listers were attached to this film, I think, speaks volumes to not only how people feel about Scooby Doo, but also to how different this movie could have been, because it could have been like another Jim Carrey tentpole vehicle, but instead you kind of got this like stoner buddy comedy from, you know, it could have been such a different film.
Yeah, seriously. You know, it's interesting that you say stoner buddy cop movie, because I wanted to pitch to you, Dan, that this is the ultimate stoner movie. I don't know, that's probably a little bit of a stretch there.
Primo. Oh, man. Talk about toasted. Man, the only thing I like better than an eggplant burger is a chocolate-covered eggplant burger.
With hot sauce. Ra-cha-cha-cha.
I also did really liked how they did not shy away from making, implying that Shaggy was a stoner. I thought that was pretty entertaining.
There was this period of time, and not so much anymore because weed's legal virtually like everywhere, but there was a period of time where like a million movies came out that were all super coy about pot usage, to the point where it was like, you know, it was the butt of every joke. You had like the Harold and Kumars. You know, you had this really immature take on it where it was almost like, it's like no one knew what weed was or something. It was really funny. And it was like a kid finding his dad's gun and showing his friends. Like that's how weed was treated in some of these movies. And all that's behind us now. Like we never get that anymore. And so you have movies like this where it's like, obviously Shaggy's like a vegetarian stoner. But they don't want to show it. So they dance around with it as much as they can. It's so funny to me.
They did such a good job. Just even thinking about that scene where they're in the van on the beach, and it just looks like they're hotboxing the van, but then it opens up and they're just grilling like eggplant or something in there.
Yeah.
You watch it and you're like, oh dang, are these like getting high? Yeah. And then they're just cooking food, and they just do such a good job of you know, bringing that to light, because I guess it's only ever been implied. I don't know if it's ever been like canon that Shaggy is a stoner, and I don't think that they would make that canon, because at the end of the day, this is a kids cartoon.
Yeah.
But anyways, I just really like that they didn't shy away from those.
And then a very young Isla Fisher plays Mary Jane. Where he's like, that's my favorite name.
Yeah, exactly.
Or should I say, that's my favorite name.
Far out. I have never met another person who loves Scooby Snacks.
Me neither.
I'm Mary Jane.
Like, that is my favorite name.
Really?
Yeah.
No way.
Oh, that's pretty good.
It needs some work. It needs some work. It'll warm up as the episode goes along.
Zoinks. Yeah, you just gotta like make your voice crack really, like go really high.
I sounded like an old prospector. It was a little bit old timey.
Are you challenging me? Maybe.
So before we jump into this into the plot here, what was your overall take on this movie? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you want to turn it off? How did you feel about it?
I really struggled with this one. Really struggled.
Yeah.
I didn't go see this in theaters. I definitely saw it a couple times growing up, but this is the first time I've watched this movie in at least 10 years, like a long time. And I got to be honest with you, I really struggled with it. I think when Shaggy and Scooby were having the burp and fart off competition, I think I was checked out by then, and I had to really power through. I can always tell how much I like a movie based on how many notes I took. There's not a lot of notes here, man. I gotta be honest with you.
That was actually what pulled me into this movie, was the fart and burp. I was like, oh, finally someone is speaking my language.
We're here.
No, but like I said, I did really enjoy this movie.
Yeah.
I'm glad, though, that you are not a fan of it, because I am such a fan of it. And like I said, I have a little bit of, biased Scooby-Doo goggles on right now.
Yeah.
So I would like to hear why you didn't like it, because it's very hard for me to see the flaws. There's a couple things that I can guess right off the bat. Number one is, I think that this movie also ends up being like who this movie ends up being for. Like, it's not for kids. It's a little bit too raunchy for kids and a little too scary for kids. Definitely not for like older people. So like I said, it was I want to say maybe like 16, 17-year-olds to like 22, 23-ish when it first came out. So,
well, if I were to take like a 30,000-foot view on this movie, it was kind of like Jurassic World if it was set in a Sugar Ray music video.
Okay.
And it was just a bit too zany for me.
Yeah.
Right from the opening scene, we have Pamela Anderson stepping out of the mystery vehicle. You have all these wacky hijinks and some of the worst CGI I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
It just came across a bit too silly and ridiculous for me. And then it never really slows down. And there is precisely zero character development, really. And I just feel like...
Are you kidding me?
Well,
there's so much character. They go through they break up and all come back together. There is so much character development.
There isn't. Like, there's, like,
it's like all off-camera development.
Yeah, like Daphne toughens up, doesn't want to be the damsel in distress anymore. And, Velma wants to take more credit for solving the crimes. And I guess Fred eats some humble pie.
Let me break this down for you. Let me break this down, okay?
Yeah.
So there is character development because they have that whole entire fight in the beginning where they all go their separate ways. And like you said, Daphne goes to become like a black belt in karate.
Yeah.
Fred just continues being Fred. Velma goes on and works for NASA. They eventually all come back and reunite. But when they're at the very end of the movie, when they're going through this, like Fred gives a little bit of the spotlight to Velma.
Yeah.
Daphne gets her moment to not be the damsel in distress and also gets to save Fred and Velma, right? So there is character development that goes on in this. I mean, in this movie, it just seems like, Shaggy and Scooby are just the comedic relief and they're doing their thing. What I would argue with this movie is that it stayed too true to the cartoons, They like followed things spot on. There's that scene where they all hide in the armor.
Yeah.
And as people walk by and, in real life, you're just like, no one would ever fall for that.
Yeah.
But like in the cartoons, it was filled with gags like that. Even that one scene where Scoob's in the, he's like pretending to be a piece of luggage or whatever, and the monster comes and lifts it up and he's like hiding there. That's very reminiscent of the cartoon.
Yes.
And this is one of my theories for this movie is that it almost was too true to the source material. Too true in the sense that when it didn't translate in a live action and it just went too zany, which in a cartoon you're like, okay, I kind of expect this. But then I don't know what happens when we go to a live action movie where we want things to feel a little bit more realistic, right?
Yeah.
A little bit more plausible. And this movie did not do that, right? It stayed, like I said, stayed true to the cartoons.
Right.
As a longtime Scooby Doo fan, and then this movie coming out, like I couldn't complain, and I honestly do feel that they did the cartoon series justice. But I don't know. What would you say to that?
Well, the whole group of them feel completely out of time and place. Like right down to the way they're dressed, right? Like they're wearing bell bottoms and ascots and go-go boots in 2002, and people comment on it, so it's not like they're unaware that they look weird. They kind of act weird. Like the whole group of them is very like antiquated, but they're dropped into like a quote unquote modern day setting. The other thing that kind of messes with me about this movie is the structure of it is really weird. When you're putting a really famous team on film that people have grown up loving, and in the first act of the movie they break up and go their separate ways, that's kind of, as far as comedies go, that's a third act element. In all comedies, there's always a third act dip right before the climax of the film.
Yeah.
You have a little sad moment, or people show vulnerabilities, or someone has a big argument and they have to reconcile before the big climax of the film. But this does that in the first act, and then has like no further character conflict until like through the rest of the film.
It's called flipping the script, Dan.
We tried to do that so that we would put you right in the world of Scooby-Doo, if you're a Scooby-Doo fan, that you're kind of comfortable with. And then we try to turn the convention on its ear.
Considering that Scooby-Doo had the same script for like 25 years, I just thought it was very interesting that you kind of took these people out of time, plopped them into 2002, and scattershot them to the four winds, only to bring them back together at like the strangest time, or it just didn't... the whole script, man, it just made me feel so weird. Like, I can't explain it.
Let me paint you a picture, okay? The Mystery Inc. has been solving mysteries for a long time.
Yeah.
Allegedly, they've been a group that formed in their teenage years, right? So in the cartoons, they're all in their teens. Now, what I would argue is that they wanted to make this feel like it flowed from the cartoons to the movie. So what they ended up doing is you have all the classic Scooby-Doo cartoons of them solving mysteries, whatever, and then the movie opens with a big scene of them, fighting that ghost, solving a mystery, and then this is where my, the problem that I have with my brain where it just fills in the blanks. So for me, the way that I took this movie is that they have been solving mysteries for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
They are now all young adults. And as young adults, whenever you spend any time in close proximity to any people, especially friends, you can get annoyed of each other, right? And so let's say that they have been solving mysteries for 4 or 5 years, and it just got to a boiling point where they're like, all right, we got to go on a path of self-discovery because we've spent all our teenage years together as a group, and we need to go out and we need to grow as individual people, and which they do. And then they come back and they reunite, but also as better people because they all have went and explored things on their own.
The truth is, Mr. Mondavarius, Mystery Inc. is broken up.
Oh, but that's the beauty of something broken. It can be fixed, and therein lies its potential. And I need you to fix Spooky Island.
What's the problem exactly?
I believe somebody is casting a spell on the students.
And that's what I mean is I'm a little too biased towards this movie, and I'm going to defend it with everything I have.
Well, let's get into the meat of this film.
Yeah.
Tell me, what is Scooby-Doo about? And then we'll get more into the nooks and crannies.
Well, like we were just saying, the movie starts off them solving a mystery. Yeah. Basically, after they solve the mystery, the gang breaks up. And I don't know exactly how long the time is between when they break up and when they reunite.
It's a while, right?
Yeah, I want to say
it's
a couple
years.
Yeah, a few years at least. And so what ends up happening is they get an invitation from Mondavarius to come to their spooky island because guests are leaving and they're very weird when they leave and they're very happy when they are arrive on the island. So he individually invites all the members of the Scooby-Doo gang there to obviously solve the mystery. When they all arrive on the island, they're kind of all at odds with each other. So, each of them are like, we're going to go and solve this on our own. Eventually, they go and they try to do their own thing, but eventually they realize that they are better together as a group. And reluctantly, they start working together as a group and they kind of come to the realization, where they went wrong and what they could do better. And they change a little bit. And they eventually realize that it is, what do you want to call it? I can't remember. What was that gold pyramid thing called?
I have a word written here. Was it the Damon-ritis? Damon-ritis? Was that thing
Damon-ritis, yes. Yeah. That is what it's called.
There, that's what that word is. I got a scribble written down. I was like, the Damon-ritis? There's something about a well of souls, stealing protoplasm from people.
Yeah, so well, and you know what? That's the interesting thing about this movie because normally it's always a man in a mask, but they decided to make this a real supernatural kind of thing that was happening. So there's this ruin, I can't remember what it's called, but they have that, and it's able to take the soul out of people, and I believe it puts a demon into them, for lack of a better term, puts a demon into them. So when these people come to the island, they get their souls sucked out of them, and then they get replaced with a demon, and then they go back into society. And there's also a training facility for these new demons, and so that's basically the movie, and they're just trying to solve that. One point, they all get, their souls swapped out of their bodies and into other bodies. And towards the end of the movie, you find out that it's actually Scrappy-Doo, which is supposed to be Scooby-Doo's nephew or something that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's actually in a robotic suit of Mondavarius. So, it still was a man in a mask.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was doing some kind of weird voodoo, demon, occult research and sucking souls out of people and turning them into demons. And he was the actual main villain.
So Scrappy Doo built this robot?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
There is a real Mondavarius, and he was imprisoned by Scrappy Doo and put into like I don't know what you want to call it, like underground in a bunker. And Scrappy Doo took over, and he was originally the one that actually invited everyone. And he was the one that was like pulling all the shots behind the curtains there. I think if there is one bone to pick with this movie, it's probably that they made Scrappy Doo the villain.
Yeah.
Because in the cartoons, like, I don't know how familiar you are with him, but he is Scooby's nephew, and he's obsessed with Scooby-Doo. He wants to be part of the gang. He'll do whatever he can do. And they did him real dirty in this movie.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm not a huge Scrappy-Doo fan, but I just, if you're going for a movie that is supposed to be so like throwback to the cartoon, right? It doesn't make sense to me why they would do this one character, dirty like they did.
Yeah, from what I read, they actually got a lot of pushback about this. People were not happy.
Yeah.
Honestly, maybe that's part of the rating. Maybe that's part of why people didn't like it that much, eh?
I wonder. I really do wonder because, yeah, like I said, as a longtime Scooby-Doo fan, that was the thing that irked me the most because I knew he wasn't a villain. And it was also weird, too, because in the cartoon, he is a puppy, and in the movie, they said something along the lines as he has a thyroid issue.
Yeah.
So he's not actually a puppy. Yeah. But it also doesn't make sense because one of his catchphrases in the cartoon was like, puppy power. And then he yells it in the movie. Mm-hmm. But why would he be yelling that in the movie if he wasn't a puppy? I don't know. For this movie, for me, it did so many things right. But, the villain, the probably one of the biggest things to do with this movie, they kind of messed up on.
Yeah, they didn't have to go so hard on Scrappy, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. They didn't have to do him so dirty.
Made him pee on people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know.
What's the idea? You can't do this to me! People adore me! Ow! I'm as cute as a Powerpuff Girl!
Aaron, to your point, another thing I want to defend about this film is just the breakneck pacing of it, I think is very appropriate for the tone of the film. It just goes from set piece to set piece and doesn't ever slow down. Like, there's at times so much happening on screen that you barely have time to take it all in. It goes very theme park, very Disneyland-ish at times, and there's that whole like haunted mansion style place. And there's so much set dressing and production design, and a lot of it looks very like plasticky or foamy, but so much on screen. It's so visually dense, and it doesn't give you time to like take it all in. It's just go, 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 right till the very end. And I feel like not only because of the rating, because of some of the elements and themes they wanted to take out of the movie, I feel like there's a huge chunk of this film on the cutting room floor, just because of how quick it moves and how many continuity errors there are. It just seems like a breakneck pace.
I did read that there was another script for this movie, and apparently it was a much, much more darker tone of a movie.
I believe
I even read somewhere that it might have even had a rated R rating, which to me, that's insane.
Yeah.
But I would like to see that movie. Also, there's supposed to be a scene of Daphne and Velma kissing, so I wouldn't mind seeing that as well.
Yeah, there's a deleted scene I saw on YouTube of Velma singing a song to Daphne, and Velma's like doing a drunken lounge singer thing where she's like on the piano and everything, like on top of the piano, doing that whole thing.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how that would have let in, in this film, but but yeah, there's a lot going on. This almost reminds me of when we reviewed Jingle All the Way, where it just felt like there was an alternate cut somewhere that was just super grim.
Yeah.
Hey, my glasses!
Who's helpless now?
I'm going to kill you, Daphne!
Whoa, whoa, whoa!
What's the ascot?
Hey, you guys, look. I know I'm just the dude that carries the bags, but it seems to me we all play an important part in this group. I mean, we're just like a big, delicious banana split. Fred, you're the big banana. Daphne, you're the pastrami and bubblegum flavored ice cream. And Velma, you're the sweet and sour mustard sauce that goes on top. That sounds pretty good, doesn't it, Scoob?
Rah!
You know what, Shaggy? You really put it in perspective for me.
Thanks.
I quit.
So, Aaron, is there anything specifically that you want to defend about this film? Like, what stood out to you that made it so endearing?
I want to defend. There's a few things that I want to defend. Number one, casting. I think we already got into that a little bit because the casting is just unreal.
It is.
The other thing that I kind of want to defend is the fact that a lot of people were complaining about the CGI in this movie. Now, keep in mind that this movie came out in 2002, right? Mm-hmm. So, you're not really going to get anything, anything good. But what I want to defend is all the actors, because I believe in modern day CGI, they have, like, I've seen the thing, it looks like a tennis ball on the end of a stick, and they're kind of looking at it. But in this movie, there was no Scooby, right? There's a scene, I believe it's Rowan Atkinson, and he's talking about how he has to talk to Scooby, and he has to do his, like, change where his eyes are looking. And so all the actors are doing a phenomenal job of pretending that Scooby is actually there, while they don't even have a reference of anything. They're just kind of guessing at where it is, which to me, I feel that it takes some serious acting chops,
It's difficult. Acting with Scooby is more difficult than I thought it would be. It's a lot of imagination, but it's also getting all the actors' imaginations in tune. We all have to see the same thing. We'll always say, where do you see Scooby right now? And what face do you think he's making?
Yeah, I agree. It's tough, though, because this is the same year as Reign of Fire, and the dragons in Reign of Fire, as we talked about in our last episode, are, like, incredible for the time.
Yeah.
So now I understand this is a completely different animal and a completely different vibe, but the smart thing that I think they did was to make Scooby-Doo look like a cartoon dog and not a photorealistic dog. Mm-hmm. Because I think if they went photorealistic, it just would not have fit or worked at all.
No, it would have completely changed this movie. It would have been something else.
Yeah. So I think doing this approach was good, but it doesn't really spill into the rest of the... Like, in order for us to believe that they're friends with, like, a talking cartoon dog, you kind of have to inject a little bit more of that silliness into the rest of the universe. And I'm not sure they did enough of that. Like, in The Stupids, they have, like, a stop-motion claymation, like, cat and dog. And it works really well in that show because everything else is just as wacky and cartoonish and unrealistic.
Yeah.
But in this movie, I found that Scrappy and Scooby-Doo and these monsters were kind of the only elements that were, quote-unquote, unrealistic of the time, Yeah. I thought they could have went a bit harder on the theme park attractions, made those, try to punch up the goofiness a bit in terms of, like, make Scooby-Doo gel more with the overall atmosphere. Like, a big scene that stuck out to me was when Scooby-Doo's in the airport dressed in like dressed as like an old
Grandma
lady.
Scoob.
Yeah. And that scene kind of personifies the point I'm trying to make, where it's like, if you're expecting us to believe that everyone in this airport doesn't recognize a dog in this costume and that the Mary Jane character doesn't realize she's sitting right next to a dog, you kind of have to carry that silliness into other areas of the movie, or else it just feels disjointed. So that, to me, stuck out a lot in this film.
See, and that's where I come back to this, that we just gotta pretend it's like a cartoon, And if you kind of like view it as they just literally took the cartoon and they turned it into live action, I feel that everything fits.
Yeah.
Something as dumb as him dressing up as an old lady and going on a plane is something that you would see in the cartoon and you would not think anything of it, right?
Right. I think I would have went full Space Jam on this thing, where, like, if Scooby-Doo's running in midair before he falls, the whole mystery team should do that. If, if Shaggy's trying to reach and grab a sandwich off of a high place, maybe his arm stretches a little bit. Just a few little wacky, goofy elements to really kind of stitch together this cartoon dog with like a grounded resort in 2002. The resort could have been much wackier and much more cartoony. And I think I think all the ingredients were here. Like the cast was incredible. The voice acting, like Matthew Laird's voice acting was so good, they went on to use him in other Scooby-Doo productions.
Yeah.
I feel like all the ingredients were there, but I just feel like it wasn't cohesive enough for me, I think, is what I'm trying to say.
In what way was it not cohesive? Like story was not cohesive, or just kind of
the lukewarm, non-committal approach to the cartooniness of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, you think it's lukewarm?
Yeah, I feel like it should have gone harder into the cartooniness.
You know what? I will agree with you. I do think that you are on to something when you say making the actual actors being a little bit zany, because you are right. There is a little bit of contrast between Scooby-Doo and the main actors, like the the actual non-CGI actors there.
Yeah, like this could have been the next Roger Rabbit, really. But I feel like they kind of dropped the ball. And that's kind of like where my headspace is at. I'm kind of comparing it to some of those kind of films. Because the CGI is just so jarring that you kind of have to make it work and explain it in a sense. If you just don't explain it and just let it happen, you're asking a lot of your audience. And if you got like those snub-nosed critics that are going in there, of course they're going to give it 32%, Like they don't see it as high art, obviously. They just see it as like a dumb stoner comedy or something. So I think that's where the disconnect is.
That makes sense. Because in the cartoons, it was always Shaggy and Scooby. They're both doing that little like air run before they fall all the way down. And so why would you only do I mean, I get why they only did one, but I do like what you're saying there. I would have liked to see that as well.
We have to bring Scooby to life. It's not like it's a matter of just putting a dog on the screen with fur and eyes and ears. It's the way they move, and it's the way he looks at other actors. That's the hard thing, and that is a mammoth challenge that frankly we're all scared to death about.
I think the soundtrack is probably the only other thing that I would like to defend. It was funny because Shaggy does the theme song, and not Shaggy in the movie, but Shaggy the reggae artist.
Yeah.
So can you imagine how difficult of a time I had Googling Shaggy doing Scooby-Doo theme song? I was just trying to find it because I wanted to hear it and what it sounded like.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, I did think the soundtrack was pretty fun, and it was cool. They had Sugar Ray in the movie here. And I don't know, like, Dan, I know you're into obviously you play and write your own music.
Yeah.
I kind of feel that Scooby-Doo, like doing the theme song to Scooby-Doo, like a lot of bands and artists have done it over the years.
Yeah.
It's kind of like almost a rite of passage, which I thought was really cool. I think Simple Plan does a cover. Yeah. There's a few other bands that do a cover. Maybe Dan, you'll do a cover.
Maybe. Man, what hasn't Simple Plan covered?
Yeah, no, seriously. But yeah, no, I would say just the soundtrack's probably the other thing that I would like to defend on this. What about you? Do you have anything else you want to defend? Or
I thought the sets were really fun and visually interesting.
Yes. Yeah, costumes as well.
Yeah, everything has this retro, modern, like I can't even, like almost like a postmodern approach, but there's lots of color. The furniture is very retro everywhere. These attractions, like especially the castle-y one, just everything feels just a degree left of reality. And I got such a kick out of it. Like for the whole way through, everything is just a little bit skewed in that like 2002 kind of Austin Powers-y way, And I really appreciated that, because even at times where I felt like it was a little bit hard on the nerves or a little bit a little bit obnoxious, it was always visually interesting. And so I definitely give it props for just the sets, the originality, wherever this resort is. I think it's a real resort, and I think they shot in Australia and stuff. So it definitely has a cool vibe to it. It's definitely, it doesn't have a North American movie vibe to it, so that's always fun. I like that a lot. Aaron, do you have a WTF moment for this film?
Oh, not particularly. There was, I think for me, maybe was the racist undertones that kept happening.
Yeah.
There was a lot of racist undertones, and I like to just chalk this up to it was I guess at the time this stuff was okay, and I'm didn't pick it up back in 2002, but I sure picked it up now.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
like, oh my God.
So I would say. Yeah, the kung fu-y line or whatever he says, that one there, and a bit of sexism as well towards Daphne and Velma and things like that. But other than that, I don't really think I have anything. What about you?
I mean, they are boomers, right? Like,
yeah.
My WTF moment was when Scrappy pees on Daphne. And then says,
okay, yeah.
Ooh.
And when I find him, I'll give him a good dose of puppy power! Ta-da!
Oh, God, he's peeing on me.
Ooh.
So morbid. Just the worst.
Yeah, they really did him dirty there.
Yeah, it's just such a pervert little dog, and he pees on her. And, ooh, that little noise he makes, just, man.
Yeah,
I just about threw in the towel at that moment. I was like, I don't know, man.
You're like, I'm done. I'm retiring from this podcast. Scooby-Doo broke me.
It finally did it. Yeah.
Oh, man.
This movie is such a time capsule in so many ways, not just
it
the
really
actors.
is, yeah.
Like the pop culture element of it, the love for Scooby-Doo. This movie is the early 2000s in a nutshell. It's really extraordinary.
Yeah, it really is. I'd also argue that this would be peak Scooby-Doo and everything that kind of came, at least in live action. Not too sure with the animated movies and stuff, but everything that has came after this movie has just consistently gone downhill. I even started watching the second one, and while the second one had all the returning actors and everything, it just didn't hit the same way that this one hit.
Yeah, it felt it feels kind of gutted. It doesn't have the same chaos to it.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the same energy at all.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. Like, this is a little time capsule of a movie.
Yeah.
And that's honestly probably one of the biggest things that I want to defend it. If you want to watch the last good live-action Scooby-Doo movie, this is the one.
Yeah, the one and only.
Scrappy, I told you, no urinating on deck.
It was an accident!
You were marking your territory.
You don't have the scrote for this job, Pally! Ah, listen up, losers. The time has come that you appoint me your unquestioned leader. Either that, or I'm out of here.
Well, Aaron, as we put this dog back in the kennel, is there anything else you want to say about Scooby-Doo?
No, not particularly. Just go out and watch it.
Yeah.
If you have a Great Dane, please send me pictures of it. I would love to see it. And even if your Great Dane is named Scooby, I will be in love with your dog.
Even better. Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. Well, yeah. I mean, that's 2002 Scooby-Doo. PG rated, an hour and 26 minutes. It's certainly not the worst use of an hour and 26 minutes, especially these days. So, yeah, what a blast from the past. It's on, what is it on? It's on Crave or HBO, one of those two. And I'm sure you can find it in your local Walmart bargain bin for a few bucks.
Yeah, $5 DVD. Yeah.
Totally. Bundled together with the second one and probably a series of cartoons or something. So
I know I'm just the dude that carries the
I play Norval Rogers, a.k.a. Shaggy. Shaggy does not like anything that might kill him, eat him, or maim him for life. Shaggy is a big chicken. Both him and Scooby have that in common. Not big fans of the ghosts.
Every time you turn around. I play Scooby-Doo. I don't like monsters, but I love Shaggy.
I just want to go on like a Matthew Liard viewing spree now. I think I might
Yeah.
Need to watch some of his movies.
Oh yeah, he's an interesting dude. I really like the fact that he started to voice Shaggy after the original voice actor retired.
Yeah.
I believe it was 2009, which is pretty cool to have that much of an impact on one character that you are now the voice actor for it. That is a big deal, and I really thought, he really brought it as Shaggy, right?
Yeah, just crushed it.
Yeah.
Absolutely crushed it.
The show is called Scooby Doo, right? And he's best friends with Shaggy. And even though they're kind of the ones that are more of the comedic relief than anything, they are the largest part of the show. And yeah, he killed it as Shaggy.
Totally. Awesome. Well, we hope you enjoyed the episode. Had a bit of a week off here, but it's kind of nice. So I was in Edmonton there. We had some fun. So, Aaron, I think after this, we're probably going to slowly start to look at some holiday movies. Christmas is coming. What do you think?
Oh, it's right around the corner.
Awesome. Lots to look forward to.
I have been already seeing all the Christmas decorations and the movies coming out. And I'm not a huge Christmas guy, so I'm kind of just like my eyes are rolling into the back of my head. But I do like movies, and Christmas movies, can't complain about them.
Awesome. Well, if you enjoyed today's episode, feel free to check out the social media links. They're in the show notes. And please, if you like the show, leave us a rating and tell your friends about us so we can beat the algorithm and reach more people.
Yes, please.
Hope you enjoyed the episode, and we will see you on the next episode of In Defense of a Movie Podcast.
Bye.
Like until next time, let's go listen to some more podcast episodes.
Ruby Dooby Doo, Scooby! Ruh-roh, Reggie!
Oh no!
Like zoinks, man!
That was really good.
Oh, I've been working on my Scooby Doo love.
That was awesome. I'm a Joan.
I've been okay. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Should we just do like a couple of minutes of just? Too much fun. Too much fun.
Well, that's definitely going to be at the end of the episode.
Yeah.